Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Deanna, you're watching Orchie D, and today I just wanted to update you on my frag longifolium, which I trialled in a semi-hydro setup, and I wanted to discuss some of my thoughts on semi-hydro currently. So towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, I did trial quite a number of orchids in my collection into semi-hydro, and I had a little bit of success but mostly failures, so I abandoned that effort and converted all of them back to a organic setup. But I did hear that frags enjoyed semi-hydro, so I thought I'd trial this, and I was going to wait a month, but it's been about 3 weeks and this plant's just stalled, so nothing's happened with it. I noticed that these new growths had done nothing, the leaves had done nothing, so I unpotted it. And I'll just show you, because the rest of the frags are doing great. Their leaves have grown, their new growths are taking off, and they're very happy in this organic setup. But this guy is definitely sulking somewhat. Now there is a growing root tip in there. Let me see if I can find it. There it is. So there is a little growing root tip in there, so that's good. But I've already chopped off a number of dead roots, but a few of them are just dying off. You can see that's all dead there. Comes off very easily, and just remember 3 weeks ago they were alive, so yeah, I'm going to pot it back into organic. So let me just share my thoughts a little bit on semi-hydro. So there are definite theoretical benefits to potting your stuff in inorganic media. So inorganic media does not break down, which theoretically means less repotting in the future, but initially I think converting to semi-hydro is hard work. So some orchids, and I would say a minority, won't skip a beat. So if there's not a lot of difference between what they were potted in previously and their new semi-hydro setup, then they may actually not need to adjust to the new media as much. And so the ones that I had success with were mostly phals. So I have 3 phals currently that are still in a semi-hydro setup, but even them, I'll discuss them as well in a little bit. But the rest of my orchids that I tried it on did not adjust at all. So their existing roots didn't like the air to moisture ratio, and they basically killed off all their roots. And the idea that not a lot of people discuss is that their roots do die off. So the old roots that aren't accustomed to so much air and being constantly wet, they will actually not survive, and you have to wait for new roots, for the plant to produce new roots that are accustomed to the new environment, basically. And that is really stressful for an orchid, to lose all its roots and to have to grow new roots. And it basically sets back your plant for a very long time. So you'll find that any new growths and leaves, they can stall, and your plant is set back sometimes for over a year while it adjusts to the new medium. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand seeing my plants doing so badly. I think once you do have the new roots, and once you've gone through that transition period, then it's might be really good. I guess long term, having media that doesn't break down means you only really have to repot when your plant outgrows the pot. And when that happens, you can just plonk your plant into a bigger pot essentially and fill in around. You don't have to disturb the roots. So in the long term, maybe is a good idea in the right environment. But for me, I just couldn't see my plants losing all the roots. I had to take out the plants multiple times. I had to chop off the dead roots, because also as the dead roots decay, they the medium gets really smelly, it accumulates fungus and mould and just becomes overall like really unpleasant. So yeah, I sort of abandoned that effort and converted it back to organic. And I will show you my other orchids now that are in that semi-hydro setup still, and I'll tell you why I am planning to revert them also back to organic. Okay guys, so here I have 2 of my phals that are in semi-hydro, and I do have one more, but these 2 phals are the ones that adapted really well to the semi-hydro conditions. They were repotted both around May when I got them, and they were originally in some stones and a bit of moss, and they basically transitioned really well, and you can see they look great. Like, for all intents and purposes, their leaves look nice. Look at that bloom. These leaves look nice, but let's talk about them just briefly. So this is my phal Sogo Vivian, and we'll start with her. So she was repotted in May, and when I repotted her, she was just pushing out this leaf, like just starting, almost. I think at the time I repotted, I noticed the new leaf. So it's taken 6 months to develop this leaf, and it's only just pushing out the next little leaf there. Originally, when I repotted her, she was in a quite shallow semi-hydro set up in a clear, flimsy plastic pot, and before I went away on holiday at the beginning of October, I repotted her into like a bit of a self-watering setup because I had these pots available. So it gets distilled water in this reservoir. Every 3rd time I change the water, I do put a little bit of fertilizer in there, but I flush fertilizer through every 2nd watering, essentially, which I only water this guy every week. So what I think is that 6 months is too long to grow a leaf. The rest of my phals grow leaves in a matter of months, like 2-3 months. So on average, they take about 3 months to grow a leaf. Sometimes even quicker. The seedlings, yes, they do take a little bit longer, and granted, this is a seedling. The other thing it didn't have on its side was it went through winter. But all these phals are kept inside. My winters aren't ridiculously cold. Outside it does get to a minimum of about 7 degrees Celsius, but all the semi-hydro guys were kept on heated seedling mats, and I don't think they suffered too much. But yes, it was winter, so it grew a little bit slower, but my winters last for about 3 months. The rest of the time it's pretty warm, and I have to say today is pretty bloody warm as well. So why did it grow that leaf so slowly? And I have to wonder if the semi-hydro setup has anything to do with it. And my gut feeling is yes. Now, I will preface this straight away. This is my opinion. This is my, 2 cents worth. It's just my theory, and it's just the thought process that goes into my head. So please, put your comments down below. Please tell me what you think, but this is my feeling and why this guy is going back into organic this season. So there's a reservoir down here, and yes, a lot of this leca remains moist all the time, as long as there's water in the reservoir. The top layers do dry out. So yes, leca wicks a little bit, but leca doesn't absorb any moisture. It doesn't hold the moisture, it doesn't hold the nutrients. So what I think is that a lot of the moisture that is in between the leca beads is humidity, it's condensation, it's just water. It is not nutrients. So the nutrients that this guy gets is if any roots are sitting in the reservoir, which for this setup it's not, or any nutrients that are in the wick that the roots are touching, or any nutrients that the roots can grab onto when I flush with the fertilizer. Okay, so you have like this guy, which has nice moist media at the moment. It's got bark, perlite, sphagnum, it does have a few LECA beads. So the bark holds water, the sphagnum holds water, the perlite holds water, and it holds whatever water that I flush through there, which includes my fertilizer solution. It holds my fertilizer, and so it provides a constant supply of nutrients between my waterings. Does that happen with semi-hydro? I don't know. I always just thought that if you had a little bit of nutrients in here, that's what's wicking up. But the more I think about it, the less I think that's true. So I am going to repot this one back into organic medium. And this is not an organic versus inorganic discussion really, because it's more about media that can hold nutrients and moisture in it. And because LECA doesn't, I don't think it's delivering enough nutrients for my liking. What I'll probably do is keep one phal, maybe this one, in semi-hydro. So I have 2 plants growing over summer, because obviously they're going to be growing better in the following 6 months compared to the previous 6 months. But once this flower spike falls off, I'll keep this guy in semi-hydro. And yeah, I think it would be interesting to see if I'm happy with the growth on this one. I know happy is a very subjective measure, but compared to my other phals, whether I think it's as vigorous in terms of growing new leaves and new structures, we'll see. Okay guys, so there it is, my frag longifolium potted back into organic medium. Alright, so I guess in summary, I had a good shot with the semi-hydro. I just chose not to stick with it despite its benefits. And those people who have success with it rave about it. And as you all probably know, Miss Orchid Girl is a big advocate of semi-hydro, and her orchids look great. But I just wanted to just share my experiences with it, because I have not had such a successful time with it. And do you know what, like in winter, I think semi-hydro is awful. Once your temperatures drop below about 15 degrees, you just don't want to keep your roots really wet. And I keep a lot of my orchids outside, and semi-hydro would not work okay outside in the winter. It just wouldn't. It's too cold. The water's too cold. The roots get too cold, and they would just rot off. So yeah, it's not a year-round method for me. In summer, I'm sure if I had adjusted roots, it would actually work really well. But the other reasons that I stated that I didn't like it was that I don't think it delivers enough nutrients for my liking. That's just a theory, so we'll see how that Sogo Vivian goes once I repot it back into an organic setup, whether I do have a little bit more of a vigorous growth with it. We'll see. But I'll keep you updated on this frag, and hopefully it recovers. But yeah, it was just too much for me. I didn't want to persist in trying to force these roots to get used to a setup that I don't think overall is ideal for me anyway. So yeah, organic media it is. This is potted in the same mix as I used for the other frags. It's a small bark mix which consists of orchiata bark, perlite and some charcoal. I've put some extra LECA beads in for drainage and mixed through a reasonable proportion of very high quality sphagnum moss. But yeah, I thought I'd just finish by showing you two dogs playing because it's cute. So I hope you guys have a great week. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next time. Happy growing until then. Bye.